All right, everybody, welcome to Learning the Tropes. I'm Erin.
I'm Clayton.
And we're back.
We are back.
After a long hiatus, I should have checked when our last episode was.
The last one that we did together was a movie review of This Ends With Us. Oh, It Ends With Us? It Ends With Us. But that was way after we stopped. At least the two of us stopped doing the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who knows when that movie came out? We're still hearing about that movie, unfortunately, but the movie came out quite a while ago.
Yeah, but the lawsuit continues.
The
I don't think it'll ever
value,
end.
I know. I can't wait for the movie about the making of the movie and the subsequent lawsuit.
Well, it'll be a series. It'll be a streaming series. We know that. So it'll be like the streaming series they did about the making of The Godfather.
Which is amazing. Yeah, I love that. I still have not seen The Godfather itself.
Okay, but you've seen the making of.
Yeah.
What was it, 6 episodes?
Yeah. I've seen like 10 hours about making of The Godfather.
Yeah.
But not The Godfather itself. Anyway.
It's not about the product, it's the process.
Exactly.
As you
That's
can
what
tell.
Everybody has to say. Yeah.
That's what we're doing. This is a process, not a product.
And we're processing being back.
Mm-hmm.
So why are we back?
Do you want me to start?
Yeah.
Great. Well, we're very close friends.
Yes.
We holiday together, as people know, and we talk about books.
Yeah.
And we thought, we used to talk about books, and we used to record us talking about books. And so, again, we live in a society where why not record everything that you say to your close friends?
Right.
So that's why we're back.
I'm like, I can't believe we're talking and creating all this content just for each other.
I know.
It was so useless. And then I'll also say I have like a writing group that I meet with every other week, and
I'm not jealous.
one of the women in my writing group, Claire, she said that she continues to subscribe to our feed because she always hopes that we'll drop a surprise episode on her. So I haven't told her we're coming back. So this is a surprise episode for Claire.
Well, did you make any sort of announcement on Instagram or no?
I wanted to make sure we actually got together and actually did this before I did an announcement.
Okay.
Oh, actually, no, wait, I did. I said coming soon.
Okay.
On January 1st that we were coming back.
Okay.
But there's some changes, some necessary changes. So we're not an exclusively romance podcast anymore.
No.
We're a general book podcast of kind of like whatever books we happen to be reading, which for me are always going to include romance because I love romance and I love reading romance.
Yeah.
But that's not going to be the focus anymore, which I understand is maybe going to be a big disappointment to people. I feel many kind of ways about it. Yeah.
It could be. I mean, I think, we won't read books that always guarantee a happily ever after, right? And the main thrust might not be a relationship, which is what a romance is, technically. But I agree with you. I think the books that I love the most, with a few outliers, I would say, have some sort of romantic entanglement that exists in the book. Might not be the main focus, but I always need a little bit of romance.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think also just to be kind of honest too about the ending of Learning the Tropes, because I think or that iteration of Learning the Tropes, because we're still called Learning the Tropes. But,
Do you want to get into our lawsuit?
Yes. So as you could see in my deposition, as you read, it's
in the show notes. Just download the PDF. It's very, very long.
Your text messages with Taylor Swift are so scathing.
Oh yeah,
yeah, it's upsetting.
It is. It is
hard to come back from. But we are. But I think the thing too that was hard for us is like I love romance so much, and the reason we did that, we created the show originally was because I loved romance. You were curious about romance. And we're like, let's kind of go on this journey together, which I feel like we read over 100 books.
We read a lot of romance.
We really treaded that path. And I think it started at the end to get to this point where I was like not looking forward to reading the romances I was reading. Because typically when you're reading, if you read a book you love and it's part of a series, then you just like read that series or read that author's entire back catalog. And I never had the time to do that because we were always just reading at such like a quick pace that I I didn't want to ever to become then romance to be something that I like dreaded reading or that it turned into something else for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, we took this time off. I reread The Hathaways.
Okay.
I returned to Claypass. I returned to Stony Cross Park. I also reread a lot of Lorraine Heath because I love her so much.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth Hoyt. I did her entire series. So like I got back into it too, which I really am happy I did. But that was kind of like why it ended. And that's why I think us bringing back Learning the Tropes as a romance podcast was never really going to happen.
No. And I feel like too, I mean, I loved doing the show just because it, spending time with you, talking to you, it gave us an excuse to do that, which we don't necessarily have.
Yeah, I haven't seen you in 2 years, other than I guess at my parents' house for holidays.
Well, of course, but you're always like knocking on the door of my room and being like, "Is Clayton going to come out or what?" Like, no, leave me alone. Listen to Metallica. Yeah.
I'm like, it's breakfast.
I'm like, it's 12:30. I'm sleeping. So I think the podcast was good for reinvigorating my love of fiction because I'd been a very hardy nonfiction reader for a very long time. And then once I started reading romance, it like really made me feel like, oh, I want to read more narrative stuff.
Yeah.
And I sort of branched out after that into reading other forms of fiction. And like I said, they always have to have some core, like some sort of either somebody's in love with somebody or someone's pining for somebody, usually. And so that has stuck with me. But it's been great. I mean, it was one of the things that led me to being the reader that I am now, which is somebody who just reads a ton of fiction and loves every second of it.
I know. I love fiction.
Yeah.
And other people read, like, I guess no shade to anybody else, but like,
You say that in such a way like, well, I mean, no shade,
clearly how I
but-
actually feel. But I also think it's like, when people are like, I only want to like read to learn things. And I was like, you learn more in fiction of experiencing this person's or these people's life firsthand than I feel like you would learn even in like a nonfiction book or a self-help book. Like, I feel like these are things like the things that you learn and the experiences that you get to have reading a narrative are so much more than you could with anything else.
See, with those people, there's always hope for people because I read a lot of nonfiction, like I was saying, and I was able to find that entryway into fiction through romance. I think it just takes one book where somebody who's like, I only read to learn, they learn something after reading a fiction book in a way that they didn't expect, because the way you learn through a fiction book is different than the way you learn through nonfiction.
Yeah.
And I think the book that we're going to talk about, we'll get to it, seems like a book that a lot of people who are non-readers have decided to read.
Yeah.
Which is great. I think anytime you can get into fiction anyhow, no matter what, it's good. And so I do think that it just takes that one, and then they realize, yeah, you can learn empathy. You can learn just the state of somebody else's mind, how you interact with certain circumstances emotionally through fiction. And that's learning. It's not just, how do I, make sure that I'm more efficient?
How do I optimize?
How do I optimize my life?
4-hour workday or work week.
Yeah. It's like, we'd all like a 4-hour work week. We'd like a 0-hour work week, actually.
Ideally, yeah.
Honestly. But yeah, I do think that with people who want everything to be efficient, they're sort of a harder nut to crack, but I think they can get around to it.
Yeah. So sort of on that vein, should we, and it is January still for us. I think this is going to come out February 15th, but for us it's still January, which I feel like it's still time for reading wrap-ups. And maybe to just get a sense of also what we have been reading.
Yes.
Do you want to do your top 5 of 25?
Yes.
Or 6? I have 6.
You have 6. Do you want to go first because you already have one extra?
Okay. So first is...
You have it.
It's also a dear friend of the
Oh,
podcast.
there we go. Yes.
It's Sarah McLean's These Summer Storms. This is her first adult contemporary. And I love this book. And I mean, full disclosure, we're friends, not to brag.
Yeah.
Also, being friends with Sarah McLean is everything you want it to be, just so you know. So I feel like I was there for a lot of the path to this novel, and it made me just more blown away by her talent of just sort of all of the pieces and how she was able to put them together. And so it's about a family. It's an inheritance plot, a family that is stuck on an island. Their eccentric father passes away, and then they each have to complete a task in order to get part of his inheritance.
Okay.
And don't worry, there's a really hot man named Jack, and there is a romance.
Okay.
Because it's McLean. And we can't
She
change
couldn't
who we
resist
are.
it. She couldn't resist
come
it.
on.
Yeah.
And then the other book that I loved was another book that I saw from the Genesis, which was my Irish pen pal, Anna Carey, wrote a phenomenal book called Love Song. I'm one of the few Americans that got to read it because it wasn't published here in America. So if you are a publisher, publish Anna Carey's books. They're phenomenal. And it is very, very loosely based on experiences that she had. And it's about these two people. They meet when they're teenagers. They form a band together. It goes really like hot. There's miscommunication. The band breaks up. They break up. One of them becomes a world famous rock star, and the other one is a copywriter at an ad agency. And they come together to finish the one song that can never crack. So it's about songwriting and kind of who they become as adults. And then they fall in love. It's a romance as well.
Okay. So it's
It's fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah, it's so good. If you're in the UK or Ireland or a few other countries in Europe, you're lucky enough that you could buy it. But I'm sure there's a way for Americans to get to it.
Blackwell's.
What's Blackwell's?
You can order online. You can order UK books from Blackwell's. I do it all the time.
Oh.
Yeah, stuff that hasn't been published here. It's free shipping.
Wow.
Yeah, and sometimes you can get hardcover books in paperback, which I love. I love a paperback. I'll do a paperback over hardcover. Have we talked about this? Are you hardcover?
I'm hardcover.
Oh, okay.
Almost, yeah.
I'm
always
paperback.
prefer hardcover.
Just because the portability.
That's it. I'm hardcover until it's time to bring it on the subway, and then I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah. Now, do you take the covers off of your hardcovers? That's a
Yeah.
big. Okay, you gotta.
Yeah, it's too much.
Yeah.
So those are my top two books, both written by friends, because I'm very lucky. And then my last book of 2025 was You Dreamed of Empires by Alvaro Enrique. And it is an imagined first meeting of Montezuma and Cortez in what is today Mexico City. And what kind of happened. And it's very mystical, and the whole book feels like a dream. And the last 20 pages are unlike any book I've ever read. I've never seen an author try to do what he did and pull it off. And it is gorgeous. And honestly, since I've read those last 20 pages, I don't think they've ever fully left my consciousness of kind of what it is and what it means and really beautiful. And I feel like I've been reading a lot of books that are about looking forward and looking back and being at that sort of precipice. And that's what that book is about. And then I found one of my new favorite authors, who's Yoko Ogawa. She's a Japanese author. I read Revenge. Did I give you Revenge?
You did give me Revenge.
Okay, because I was looking for it today to give to you again.
Okay, yeah.
And didn't
I'll
find
take
it.
I'll take it again.
No, I'll go buy another copy for you. No. But so Revenge, which is their short stories, and then The Housekeeper and the Professor, which is a gorgeous story all about this woman who's taking care of a man who has a memory issue where he only remembers the previous 88 minutes. And it's about like how do you form a deep relationship with somebody when there is no history, and there could never be. And then my last two are Martyr by Keva Akbar. Did you read Martyr?
No.
I gave it to somebody, but I didn't give it to you.
I don't think you gave it to me.
Who did I give it to? Well, it's not in my house anymore. But it is just about an Iranian American and him kind of coming to terms with martyrdom. And it's just him sort of ruminating the whole book about what it means to be a martyr in a way that I normally don't like. Like, I don't love character studies. But for some reason, this really got me.
I thought you were going to be like, I don't like martyrs. Like, all right. Yeah.
What is the RuPaul line? It's like, get off the cross, we could use the wood.
Is that what it is?
But I don't like martyrs in my life when people act.
Yeah, we like actual, like, we're not.
No,
people actually sacrifice themselves for causes are good, depending on what the cause is.
Yeah, I think it's a case-by-case basis on martyrs, if we're thumbs up or thumbs down.
Yeah, I think this is a deeper topic than, I don't want to go full on like all martyrs are good. But I think if people listen to the podcast before this, hopefully we have some listeners from before, they know where my heart is.
And then the final book is A Ghost in the Throat by Doreen Nigrifa. She's Irish.
Okay.
And it's another book that's like unlike anything I've ever read before, where it's both a fiction and a nonfiction, in that it's her telling the story of having her a child and what early motherhood is like, as she's also becoming obsessed with this ancient Irish poem that she's trying to translate and find out more about the central character of this woman and who she was in real life. And it's sort of this trying to reach back in time in a way that I think is really beautiful, and that I now gift to my creative friends when they have their first children, because I think it's a beautiful way of contextualizing both those moments in your life.
That's cool. We were talking by the water cooler about possible future episodes when we were talking about more broad book topics. And I think like gifting, and you mentioned something, and we won't get into it because hopefully it'll be a show on itself, but like, what books do you give people? What books are the ones you give the most and stuff like that? Because I definitely have books that I've given to multiple people, which are like my go-to. So I always think that's interesting because we love giving books.
Yes.
We love that.
And you're a very good book. You gave me 3 books for Christmas. Or 2.
I think I gave you 2. Yeah.
Lunches with Orson. My Lunches with Orson.
Yeah.
And The Wall.
Yeah. Speaking of which, one of my best favorite books of last year.
Oh, okay.
That was not released last year.
No, but that doesn't – I don't know when these were released.
Yeah. So that is a book I gave to you, and I talked to – and this is a book, if you've spoken to me in the last maybe 7 months, you've heard about this book. And so it's The Wall by Marlene Haashofer, which originally came out in 1963.
Yeah. And
was re-released in 2022. And it's sort of like a female Robinson Crusoe situation, but it's a woman who was visiting some friends in a cabin, and she wakes up one morning and there's just a wall that is cutting her off from the rest of society. And when she looks outside, it doesn't seem to be there anymore. And so it's about a woman having to face being alone, befriending animals, and using what land is available to survive. And it is one of those books that I just got fully immersed in. I was just blinders on reading this book. And when it ended, I was just like mourning it for a couple weeks afterwards, it's hard when you read a fantastic book. It's hard to start reading another book because you're like, this is never going to be The Wall. You're not The Wall. Get out of here. And you eventually find something else that grabs a hold of you the same way, but it is tough. Where, when you read a book that you're like, this was good, okay, and then you can pick something right up afterwards. I've done that. I've finished a book on the subway, had another one in the chamber, pulled it out, and this wasn't this was okay, let's sit here in this for a while. So I love that book. And I didn't put these in order in any way, but
mine weren't in order either.
Yeah.
I mean, my 2 friends' books were at the top.
Of course, because they're your friends. Spoiler, I'm not friends with any of the people who wrote these books.
Oh, okay.
That doesn't mean that someday I won't be. Although maybe, okay.
Is
I think,
everybody dead?
Not everybody. One person is dead, I think.
Okay.
My next book is Sky Daddy
Oh, yeah. Really?
by Kate Folk. Did you read Sky Daddy?
No.
Okay.
I was interested.
So this is a really funny book about a woman who is attracted to planes and plane travel. Now, it seems like it'd be something that is worthy of mockery in a bad author's hands, right? Like you could see this being, isn't it funny that this person wants to fuck planes? And
But given the tenor of the previous iteration of this podcast, it's pretty hard to shock me. Or you know what I mean? That I'm like,
oh yes, for the sexual element
Yeah.
of this is for us like
nothing.
nothing.
It's not Morning Glory Milking Farm.
No,
Which was
like,
fantastic.
It's a great book.
Oh,
so
God, yeah.
If you're scandalized by this book, that's fine. That's good. That happens. I like when people get scandalized sometimes. That can
Yeah.
but I think it's more of just a character study of somebody who feels different, does not connect with people because of their difference, because of the fear. And I think everybody has something about them with romance, dating, where they're like, if this person finds out this, how are they going to feel about me?
Right.
And this is just blown up to like a huge extent of, yes, I want to fuck planes. And the thing is, this character doesn't even want to be with a person. They want to be with a plane. So that's the other thing too. It's like, how do you survive the world when that is your end goal, right? And I thought it was done really well. I think all the characters are done in a way where they have their picadillos, but they're never real villains. I think it's really hard to do, to not make a character just specifically like a villain, rubbing their hands together. And so, yeah, that's one that I really, really loved and was surprised by, Another one that I really loved was a book called Blue Light Hours by Bruna Dantas Labato. This was a book that was written by a Brazilian translator who has won a National Book Award for translating. This is their first fiction book.
They wrote themselves? Or they translated it?
They won a award as a translator.
Okay.
But that's not for this book. They wrote this book in English. It's their first novel. And it's about a girl who goes off to college and her talking to her mom who's back in Brazil over the laptop and the phone and through screens. So it's a story of a mom and a daughter trying to stay connected, being, miles and miles and miles away from each other. And it was really, really beautiful. I read this in like one night, and for anybody who's living away from their loved ones, and that's just how we live now a lot of times, is we're connected through screens. I thought it was just really, really beautiful. The language was so clear and concise, which I thought was great. And I think it comes from just being a translator and writing in not a first language. I think there's just like the perfect choice of words a lot of times. And I really love this book. This came out in 2024, so it's fairly new. Another one, Breaking and Entering by Joy Williams, another book that I've told a bunch of people about. I've even given this book to not several people, but I've given it out to people. And Joy Williams is a author I had no clue about. Picked up this book because it had a great 80s cover. It's like one of those vintage, the publishing arm covers that has like the blocky color and all that. And picked it up and had it on my shelf for a while, started reading it, and I was like, where's Joy Williams been my whole life? Like, and then immediately bought the rest of her catalog. And it's about these two newlywed young people who hop around Florida staying in people's vacation homes.
Nice.
Without their knowledge.
Yeah.
And they start to befriend people, and there's just a group of characters that are not and I say this, and this is like sort of how I feel about a lot of books being written now, not to go negative, but people that are just quips and quirks and not real people. Like when they say things, you know that this is the idea of the author had of somebody being smart and clever. Joy Williams' characters speak unorthodox ways, but out of their genuine character. They're like genuine weirdos that are saying weird things.
Yeah.
And that is so refreshing. And there's just such a thin line. It's really hard to describe why she can do it and other people fail at it, but she's just excellent at it. And this was an excellent example of that. Now, we'll talk about a little bit of filth. And this book scandalized me a little bit.
Okay.
And this is a book called Stainless by Todd Grimson. And this is a gentleman who has unfortunately passed away. This was a book that was republished by McNally Jackson, which is the small book chain that's around New York. Great. I love all their – you're a fan of them as well, right? And they have a publishing house now that republishes a lot of stuff that has fallen out of print. This came out around Halloween, and I try to read spooky, scary stuff around Halloween now. That's like a big thing I do. And it is on the back of it, it said it was a slacker vampire novel. And I thought, well, how am I not going to read this?
Right.
And in it, it's about a musician who gets his hands destroyed and falls into a relationship with a vampire, a female vampire. And it's hard to explain it. There's a plot to it, but a lot of it's sort of aimless. And it's in LA in the mid 90s. So it's a very LA 90s sort of book. And I am not an LA guy. I'm a New York guy, but there's certain authors that really make me read about LA. And this was one of those books that I was like, okay, all right. I wouldn't want to live there, but I'm cool with what's going on. There's some real heavy violence in it, though. That's the thing is it's very violent. There is a sexual component to some of the violence, which is pretty shocking because the rest of the book is just a guy chilling out with his vampire girlfriend. So it is one of those things where I was...
Well, she has to eat, I guess.
Well, that's one thing. They try to be very good about that, and they don't kill. Like, I don't want to give too much, but like, they don't necessarily always kill. Unless they have to. It's this other vampire that comes into to focus that is really super nasty, and there's some really gross stuff. So if you do have a sensitive sensibility, this is not the book for you. But if you can put up with some real grossness, I sort of was a little blown away by this book. I think my expectations were just pretty low.
Right.
But the fact that it was republished by McNally made me think that there was like a different level to this than maybe your standard vampire, your Anne Rice ripoff sort of book. And there's a lot more to it.
Did the Pussy Posse show up at all if it's mid-90s?
No, so I'm thinking 96 was pre-Titanic.
Okay.
So,
no
yeah,
Pussy
he'd
Posse.
be full on, this would be Pussy Posse territory. So
Yeah.
Leo would have been around.
I feel like they probably hung out together at something.
Yeah.
At the Viper Room.
Yes. There was certainly, yeah, one of them probably got their blood sucked.
Yes.
By this woman.
And it was Lucas Haas, probably.
It was probably, yeah.
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 Are those your...
I think that was 5.
Amazing.
That was my 5.
Well, and so what really kicked this off for us is that both of us were interested in reading the same massive book, which is Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry.
Yeah.
And we were
You almost said Larry McMullen.
Who's Larry McMullen?
Isn't that oh no, it's Larry. Who's the drummer for
Larry Mullins?
Yeah, Larry Mullins. That's right. Yeah. It's Brothers McMullen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so we both wanted to read this book, and we were like, why would we read it and talk about it and not record it again? So this was the impetus. So this is why we're coming back, is to read this book.
We both have the same edition, of course, with the introduction by Taylor Sheridan.
Which, did you read the introduction by Taylor Sheridan?
I didn't.
I did, and I wish I didn't.
That's why I didn't.
Yeah.
It's sort of, let's just say, Fred Durst from Limp Bizkit has a Kurt Cobain tattoo. And that seems...
No, is that real?
That's true, and that seems very similar to this. This is sort of the... if Fred Durst wrote an intro to Heavier Than Heaven, which is the Kurt Cobain biography, memoir. Not memoir, I'm sorry. Written about him.
Yeah. He spoils the book, which is the part that really frustrated me.
How does he spoil it? Because do you think this book can be spoiled?
Yeah.
For you, maybe, right? Because you, like...
I'll say, too, I didn't know anything coming into this.
Okay.
And I started to want to read it because my favorite book of all time is East of Eden by John Steinbeck.
Yeah.
I think that's like God tier book. And everybody started comparing this to East of Eden. So I was like, I'm interested.
Yeah.
And then obviously I'm on TikTok and I'm on Book Talk. And I felt like there was a lot of book talkers from not the demographic that I would have assumed would be reading a 900-page Western.
Yeah.
Who were loving it. So it's like, okay, then there's something more here. And I think I vaguely knew that Robert Duvall was in a miniseries about adaptation or something. But I didn't know anything else really about it. And it was about like a cattle drive.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. And we're going to spoil the book. So now if you haven't read, listener, Larry McMurtry's Lonesome Dove, and you don't want to be spoiled, come back after you've read it. Because we're going to be talking about everything. But what he spoils is Cal never giving Newt his name.
Okay.
Which I feel like is such a thrust of the whole book.
Yeah.
That to know that it was never going to happen was, I don't know what the experience would have been to not know if that was going to happen or not.
Okay. I could see that. Yeah.
You know?
You're right. That's not this person dies, because I think that doesn't matter as much to me, but like a thematic thing like that would have been a bummer.
Yeah. Well, I didn't also know the person who died. Well, everybody dies.
Yeah,
basically.
well, that's the thing. Yeah.
There was like 12 different deaths.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that that August dies. And that was fucking devastating.
Yeah.
And it also is interesting because we're both big Yellowstone fans in that we've seen every episode of Yellowstone.
Yeah. I wouldn't call myself a fan, though.
No, but
necessarily.
Somehow we all watch every episode of Yellowstone. And it was interesting being like, okay, I can see how Yellowstone is an absurdist, less talented person's version of what they think Lonesome Dove is.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to beat up on Taylor Sheridan because he's a very successful, powerful man.
He won't listen to this. He doesn't need us.
Exactly.
He has $100 million. Like, he's going to be fine.
But it's the meathead version.
Yeah.
It's the meathead version of, like, there are scenes in here in this book that I'm like, that's the scene that Taylor Sheridan took and ran with. Taylor. And that's what he got from it. Makes you think, like, what did he get from this book? Really? Like, how much of it did it really get into his heart as opposed to get into his, like, muscles?
Those giant
muscles, right? And again, listen, successful guy. That doesn't mean that he's a good person. Probably not.
I don't know how
doesn't mean that he's necessarily smart. But here's the thing. And like I was saying before, if this forward gets people to read this book, I think that's a win.
Yes.
Right? And I think that, something like this book would introduce people to a way of storytelling and stuff about masculinity and, how women have been treated in history and, fathers and sons. Like, if you really are able to take that in, it's a really powerful book. If you look aside from some of the, hey, let's go into a bar and beat up the bartender because he doesn't recognize our picture behind that when that scene happened, I was like, Taylor Sheridan loves this.
This is Yellowstone.
This is Yellowstone. This is absolutely all Yellowstone.
Right.
is respect us.
For no
Period.
reason.
For no reason.
And no, Yellowstone is also a lot of like, there's no scene. Every scene to the next scene is a completely new thing.
Yeah. So, but we're not here to
We're
talk
not here
about
to
a
shit
TV
on
show.
Yellowstone.
On my end, when it comes to this book, this is a book that was on my father's bookshelf when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And it was hardcover, and I'd pick it up, and it was so thick, and I'd be like, I can't read a book this thick. I'm reading How to Eat Fried Worms. And so but it was a book that was always on that shelf. And my father was a guy who didn't have a lot of time to read, didn't read a lot of fiction, at least when he had us, me and my sister. So he had a lot of economics books, nonfiction books, things like that. But this was one of the fiction books he had. And so it sort of loomed in my childhood in a way. I also remember the miniseries. The TV miniseries was a huge deal when I was a kid. I believe it came out in 1989, and it was huge ratings. People were talking about it. It was when they were still doing those sweeping miniseries on TV, and they looked really awesome, surprisingly good, and they had surprisingly good actors in them. And that, after reading this, I went and looked up a few scenes, and I remember that so much more than I expected. Like, I remember way more about this book through that miniseries than I thought I did. And I think it's because I probably saw it when I was really, really young, and it was such a vibrant, achievement for a television miniseries.
Yeah. I've seen clips of it now after reading the book just because I wanted to like look up what had happened. And it is like, yeah, it still looks amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And there's the famous, the scene that when they got to Sean dying from the water, from the snakes, the water moccasins. There's a famous clip from the Lonesome miniseries, which I don't know if I'm like remembering it wrong, but I just remember somebody screaming "water moccasins," and it's like that's all I could think of. And I think it's Ricky Schroeder who plays Newt.
He does, yeah.
Saying "water moccasins" or somebody doing it, and I remember it almost being a meme at some point, or maybe a pre-meme. But yeah, so when we got to that scene, I was like, oh, well, this is the water moccasin scene. This is
Yeah, that poor guy. Those poor Irishmen. Just
I know.
in the middle of, they shouldn't have never left Ireland.
That must have hit you hardest. Those are your people, the Irish.
Yeah. My people just leaving Ireland, being sad, singing all the time. They were kind of caricatures. Everybody was a bit of a caricature. But yeah. So then let's get into just like the book discussion.
Yeah. So here's the thing.
So after that lead up, yeah, we have not talked about it at all. So I've been like wanting to text you constantly about different things happening in the book. But
okay. Well, what is your like overall? What is your thoughts on it? How did you feel about it?
I loved it.
Okay.
I would say like I have this now up with East of Eden as one of my favorite books of all time.
All right.
And I'll say I did like the first 100 pages. I was like, what are we doing here? It's just a bunch of people wandering around, which is the kind of book I hate the most. But
yeah, I love that.
You love it.
I wanted to know what they ate for breakfast every day.
Yeah,
that's my sort of thing.
When Poe Campo was in, you were like,
here we go,
my guy.
Yeah.
But it is such a gorgeous character study that you feel like these are real people. And I had 20 pages left to read, and I waited until this morning to read them because I like the idea of finishing this book was so heartbreaking to me.
Yeah.
That I'm like, I'm going to wait till the last minute to finish because I can't imagine. I don't want to not live with this door open.
Yeah.
I thought it was gorgeous and so well done, and Augustus is such an amazing character, and Lorena and Clara. Yeah.
Well, there is another book in this because there's
4 books in this series.
That's what I was gonna say. This is the third book.
This is the third chronologically, but it was the first written.
Yeah, right. So it's thard chronologically.
Yeah.
So there is more from these characters, although I don't think those books are looked at in the same way as this, as its own sort of standalone monolith.
This also won the Pulitzer.
It did.
And none of those won the Pulitzer.
Yeah. So that's true.
Yeah.
but so the East of Eden comparison, you're like, I'm there for it.
Yeah, and it made me want to reread East of Eden to then be able to compare and stuff, because I read East of Eden about 20 years ago. So I remember it. I remember loving it, but to go back to it.
So this is a book, like you mentioned, big on Book Talk, big online. People all started reading it, and obviously, it's a quality book. It's so well written. It's beautiful, funny, right? Like, this is the sort of book that's just like sneakily funny, because you look at the cover and you think, okay, and it's like these guys, some of the stuff, like the sign, when they're trying to figure out what is going to go on the sign, it's just like, that's hilarious.
Right.
And it's stuff that's how guys are. Right? I mean, there's a lot of things in this book where you're like, well, that's how guys are. And they haven't changed. Even if they're, not taking cattle across the country, they are doing the same stuff.
Yeah.
Right? But I want to ask you, as somebody who didn't have any sort of pre-knowledge of this, why do you think it is resonating? Other than, we said, the Tyler Sheridan, the fact that there's a lot of Western content now that's more available.
Yeah.
Is there something in the themes here? Is there something about the futility of old men, sort of, holding on to an old way of life, not feeling like they belong and having to go to drastic measures to try and feel like they're doing something? Does that resonate in society now, in your mind?
I mean, I think you're saying yes. This is such a leading question. Yeah.
Well, it came to me as I was talking about it, so I wanted to get it out because it made me sound smart.
No, brilliant.
Thank you.
For sure. And I think there's Book Talk has really grown, and I think Book Talk gets a lot of shade for, I think, some of the books that it popularizes. And I think part of this is that it is the 40th anniversary. So I think it was just in a lot of bookstores. But I think with any book, like when you read a good book, you want to tell people about it. And I think it has just caught on in that way. And I think this book is a view. And right now there's, in our society, so much discussion of masculinity. And whatever you think of that. But I think this also shows a lot of different facets of masculinity, and it also shows a lot of positive masculinity. Like, I think Gus isn't a perfect character, but I think he has so much he is so masculine in a positive way, in a way of those traits that are the way that they should be represented.
Yes.
And he's somebody that you can turn to. And then and every character has that to some extent of positive and negatives. And I think that is it. And I think it's also, how do you find your place in a world that is rapidly changing, which I think is something that all of us are dealing with right now with technology, with, the rise of fascism in this country and around the world, and all of these things that life seems to be so different, that all of us are trying to find our way. And I think that's what it is for these characters as well. They came to a place at a certain time and they knew what their place was in that, and what their life's meaning was. And they slowly lost it.
Yeah.
And kind of your last look at a country as the tipping point occurs.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, where we're at right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's, they were Rangers. They were famous Rangers, back in the day. And again, like to invoke that scene where they're at the bar. And so they show up at a bar and there's a bartender that's sort of rude to them, doesn't give them the time of day that they think they deserve. And is it Gus who does it? Or smashes the guy's head on the bar and then says, look at this picture. This is us. This was, it's so indicative of how people feel, especially men feel. And I think that scene is not a heroic scene.
No.
It's a scene that makes them look bad. And when you're reading that book, you see the positivity about them. And then when you see, when I read that scene, I was like, okay, yeah, like there is that in them. Like obviously it was like throughout the beginning of the book as well, but like that was such a big indicator to me of like, yeah, this isn't glorifying these guys. Like this isn't a glorious life that they're living.
No.
They're lost. And their way of their way of like trying to survive is just to keep on moving. Because if they sit around, they're just going to waste away. And it's super powerful. I mean, it happens, and that's what happens. I mean, I'm a guy, I'm not giving my real age, but I'm in middle age, I would say, or close to it. I mean, not really, because I'm going to live to be 150, but middle-aged, and that's happening. And it's not as straightforward as this, because it's not like I was some sort of war hero or brave man that now doesn't have a place in society. It's like I am trying to figure out where I fit into a world that's moving past me.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of reactions to that. There's a lot of people reacting in a very bad way, holding on to the past, trying to do crazy things. And it's like you really have to just keep your head and be like, okay, well, world's moving past you. How do you live with that understanding and embracing that you're not the center. And like these guys are not the center that they used to be. And what do you do?
Right. And it doesn't give an answer for it either.
No.
At all.
Because I don't know if there is one.
There isn't. Because, the book starts and they're the Hat Creek outfit and they just are basically like stealing cows from Mexico.
Yeah.
Just kind of hanging out. That's what the sign says. Not renting out pigs, famously.
Yeah.
And
who would rent out pigs?
They have like a fine life.
Yeah.
Or not really. It's not anything.
It's a lonely life.
It's lonely. It's hard. Nobody's having a great time. And then Jake Spoon rides into town and is like, you guys should go to Montana. And they're like, yeah, let's go, I guess. Why not?
Yeah.
And the thing that I think interesting about that, too, is like the person who wants to go to Montana is Captain Call, who is the more reserved of the two. I would say the more immature of the two.
Yeah.
And so they kind of, for no real good reason, just start driving cattle all the way up to Montana, to like basically Canada.
Yeah, because it's something to do.
Because it's something to do. And then that's also the last gift that Gus gives Call is going back with his body.
Yeah.
In a way that's really beautiful, like knowing you're going to need this.
The thing about this book is that whole thing could have been its own book.
Right.
That's the thing about this book is there's so many books in this book.
Right.
Where I could see somebody writing a book about a cowboy taking his other cowboy's friend's body back home and it being 300 pages of that.
Yeah.
And that's just like the end of this book.
Right. That's like the last 60 pages.
Yeah. It's like, that's the thing. It's so expansive. And, it's just like, again, and then that's just like another, and I understand it shows their loyalty. It shows like that real love for each other, but it also shows the stubbornness, right? Where it's like, you're really going to do that? Like, you're really going to go this whole way and then stop by a jail cell to see, what's his face? Blue Duck, and see Blue Duck just basically say, you could never do anything about me. I'm going to go out the way I want to go out, and then jumping off a roof with a lawman. It's like crazy. Yeah. And that's all in like 2 pages at the end of this book. And it just shows that like it's so much about futility. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, and I guess a younger man might read this and see something different. Right. Right? Exploration, the idea that there's new horizons to be had. I don't see that. I see expansion for no reason. I see a whole endeavor that comes up to what? Nothing. Leaving Newt with the ghosts of the past. Like, here's what a man is that, you're fatherless and now you have this horse that won't listen to anybody and all this land. Good luck, buddy. Yeah. And that's your inheritance. Not my name, but my burdens.
Oof. That was great.
Thank you.
But that's what it is.
It is, yeah.
And that they always get to the next place. They talk so much in this book about when we get to Ogala, when we get here, when we get here. That's all they do is talk about. And then they get to that place and they're like, all right, like, yeah, what do we do here? And there's nothing.
Yeah.
Like all the boys talking about how they want to go and be with all of the, now you're supposed to say sex workers. In the book, they obviously just say whores.
Yeah.
And then they go and they're like, I don't really want to do this. Or they do it and then it's sort of like, they're like, that's not really the experience that I wanted to have.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting that that's so much of the book is just like the anticipation of getting someplace, getting there, and then just you still being yourself.
It's almost a cliche at this point now with the guy goes to the brothel and then ends up only really wanting the company and the talk. Like it's almost become like a trope, if you will. But it's done so well in this, the way men are around women and treat women and stuff like that is like that deep loneliness and inability to really connect with a woman in a way that would be satisfactory for both people, and like how sad that is. I think that's like a huge that resonates with me in this book too, where it's just like, you know, and you can speak on this obviously too, because you're reading this from a female perspective, is just like these women are so beholden to men in this time period. And yet it's just like the men don't even know what they're doing. So it's like, what are you holding on to? Like, what is there for you if you're trying to hold on to like a slippery eel, which is like what most of these men are, you know? It's just like really sad.
Yeah. And like, let's talk about the women in the book, which I think it's, you know, because we meet Lorena first. She's the only woman in Lonesome Dove.
Yeah.
Which is a scary to be the only woman anywhere is a terrifying place to be.
I'm sure.
She manages
I mean, even in this room. I mean, it's me and producer Pat, and it's terrifying. We can see her quaking in fear.
But Lorena has a self-possession to her where she isn't afraid, but I think because she's so deeply traumatized, she's so incredibly young. She's 19 in the book, at the start of the book. And we watch her go through truly horrific things.
Yeah.
She ends up she starts dating Jake Spoon. Everybody knows that he's lying to her about bringing her to San Francisco. She knows it, but she's the same way where she's like, I just got to go somewhere. I just can't be here anymore. And so she goes with him and then ends up fighting with him because I did love Jake Spoon, unfortunately.
I mean, that's the thing. Jake,
you gotta.
Yeah. He's a rascal, but he's a lovable rascal.
And and then she ends up being kidnapped by Blue Duck and horrifically raped and abused and thinks she's going to die. And Gus saves her, and that sort of trauma bonds her to Gus.
Yeah.
And then she thinks of herself in love with him from that moment on because he's kind of the only man who I think also sees her as a fully formed person.
Yes. I mean, they had interactions earlier in the book where he did treat her more like a person than other people had.
Anybody did, because so often it was just men coming up to her being like, I'm in love with you. And she's like, how?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And they're just like, well, you're beautiful. And she's like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm also the only woman around. And I think it shows such a beautiful side of Gus because she's so traumatized from her experience with Blue Duck that he just talks to her nonstop. One, because he doesn't know how to shut up. He loves to talk, and he's a huge talker. But that's what she needs, is that sort of rhythm to get herself out of it. And he ends up bringing her to his old girlfriend and one true love, Clara's house. And then she ends up staying there with Clara and her family. And so I think, I think I started the book up sour a little bit about like men can't write women. I feel like it's just the rare man that can write women well. But this is such a book about masculinity, but then it's such a book about the importance of femininity, because the only place anybody ever finds solace is with Clara and with the life that she's able to create. Anybody who walks by her house, she's like, do you want to come live with me?
Yeah.
Come on in. And she creates this really beautiful home for all of these deeply broken people. in a way that shows you the power and the importance of femininity. The Hat Creek Gang, when they're without women, when they're just doing themselves, they're all just like bumping into each other. They don't know how to act. They don't know how to be real. And she's the one to tell Woodrow, like, we all know that Newt is your son.
Yeah.
You just acknowledge that he's your son. Like, you're being ridiculous. It's stupid that you're going down south with his body instead of spending time with your child.
Yeah.
And I thought that was also a gorgeous aspect of the book, was also its views on women. And I thought ended up having so many really well-written women.
Yes. And especially for, again, it's a 40-year-old book.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, at least for me, 1980, what is this, 1986 or 85?
Yeah.
Doesn't feel that long ago. But if you look at the way, media wrote women and stuff at the time, this is, he's doing something that a lot of people aren't doing. I mean, I would say maybe in other literature, but I'll tell you what, I read over the summer, I reread all the Rabbit books, the John Updike Rabbit
he
books.
hated women, though.
So Rabbit fucked everybody, to a degree that I totally forgot about. And when I read, sorry, I'm trying to remember that Sky Daddy. I was reading Sky Daddy, and I made a joke to somebody because they'd known I'd read the Rabbit books, and I was like, I'm surprised Rabbit didn't try to fuck the plane on his way to Florida. And it's so true, because he fucked everybody, he didn't care.
Yeah.
And that was sort of, again, not every book was like that, but those books won awards in the 80s. The last two, where it was like Rabbit is Rich, Rabbit at Rest. And that felt a lot to me, at least when I was growing up, how women were treated in media. Mm-hmm. And so to read this, it was super refreshing.
Mm-hmm. And also, I thought it was interesting because, Gus does, when Lorena is a sporting woman, when she's, working, he does, buy her, which is her, the way that she classifies it. And that was something I always was, bumping up against, because I was like, oh, I wish he didn't. Or when she offers herself to him and he knows it's out of desperation, where she's trying to keep him after her assault, he takes her up on it in a way that I'm like, oh, I wish. But maybe that's my own puritanical views, that they were able to compartmentalize those two things.
Yes. I mean, I think that is something. That is something where it's it is hard. I mean, I think that is definitely a hard thing to compartmentalize your feelings towards somebody sexually if you also have other either nurturing feelings or, for some men it's hard to respect a woman and also sleep with a woman, right? So I think there's an element of those sort of things being able to be separated or all in the soup that is interesting. Yeah. Because sometimes you can't do it,
Well, it's just, that Lorena was never put into a category in that way.
Yeah.
When she kind of left that life, that was fine.
Yeah.
And she didn't have her own issues with it, really. Mm-hmm. She was nervous other people would judge her. Clara, of course, didn't, because she would never.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other thing that I thought was really beautiful about this book was that I don't think I've seen in books before was the descriptions of dying. A ton of characters die. Mm-hmm. And something that I've never seen happen in a book before, that actually, because the first character to die is Roscoe, who is Jake Spoon, has murdered a dentist accidentally.
Killed a dentist, yeah.
And then the dentist's brother is the sheriff. The sheriff is July Johnson. He has to go after Jake Spoon. His deputy Roscoe ends up having to follow him. This is just a side character of the book.
Yes.
It's so good. July Johnson is another great tragic character. But Roscoe ends up dying, and we're in his point of view as the transition happens, which I've never seen. And then we end up being in the point of view of all of the characters as they go. At least Roscoe, Dietz, and Augustus and Gus.
Yeah.
And I thought it was such a beautiful way each of them just sort of sees colors
Yeah.
and then a place that they love. And then we switch point of view. And I think when I first read it with Roscoe, I was like, but wait, what happened?
Yeah.
But he survived. And it took
Yeah.
me a really long time to realize that he didn't.
Yeah.
Because of that transition. And I thought I had never seen death experienced like that by characters in a way that was really gorgeous. And I almost hope I'm like, I hope this is what happens.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah.
Who was the character that, because again, you didn't really have an idea of what was going to
I had
happen.
no idea what was going to happen.
What was the most shocking death, and what was the one that affected you the most?
Augustus.
Yeah.
I mean, but also Janie.
Mm-hmm.
So Janie is this poor girl. She is abused. She ends up being sold to this old man who treats her horribly. She runs away with Roscoe. She's like great at throwing rocks at rabbits, killing them. She's so self-sufficient. She's like young. She's starting her life. She's with these people trying to go somewhere, trying to get change, and she just ends up dying randomly.
Yeah.
Senselessly. And that was so tragic to me because I was like, oh, like she was young. Roscoe was kind of an idiot.
Yeah. Yeah.
He didn't. I was like, that's a bummer, but it's fine.
It would have happened somehow with Roscoe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think with Augustus dying, because he knew it was coming, and it was so devastating how long it took.
Yeah.
That it was, I think, like obviously the Gus, and to the point where The Streets of Laredo is the next book in the series, and I was just kind of like, do I even want to bother? But yes,
Yeah.
everybody says you have to, so I will. But
Okay, so you are going to continue reading the series after this.
well, yes, but I think I'm going to go back to the first book.
And is that Comanche Moon?
So it's Dead Man's Walk,
Okay.
which is about Augustus and Call becoming rangers and their first thing, and then Comanche Moon, and then Lonesome Dove, and then the last book is Streets of Laredo.
Okay.
So
So you're definitely doing it then. So this is the thing I was talking about, because when we used to do this podcast, we'd have to be like, no, but we have a woman who fucks a serpent god book that we have to read instead. You can't read about Augustus anymore.
Right, I couldn't just keep going. I don't know if that'll be I don't own the book currently,
Yes.
and so I don't know if that'll be like the literal next book, but I definitely want to
You're
read
gonna
all
dip
of
back
them.
in.
Yeah, I mean, because people are saying it's worth it, so why not? What about you? So I guess you knew, all the people who died were going to die.
Yeah, so it's funny because I
Water moccasins.
water moccasins. I forgot how much that miniseries was in my head.
Okay.
And so when stuff started happening, then it like unlocked stuff in me. It was like, oh, okay, so I know that this person dies. I know that Jake dies. Like I remembered these scenes. And so it didn't affect because for me, it's about the journey, not the destination as much. Like it's how beautifully written it is, what it says, and what it makes you think about in yourself and just in society, and just hanging out with these characters. That's worth it for me. Knowing the plot points never really matters to me.
Right.
Because I do think if you are hinging your entire book on this crazy thing happens, and you can't spoil the crazy thing, and if you spoil the crazy thing, then the book's not worth it, then that book isn't worth it.
Right.
Because you can only experience that once.
Yes, and can I tell you the people that I hate most are...
Well, if we're being negative, let's do it.
Yeah. I fucking hate it.
Wow.
When people are like, well, watching a movie or a book or anything, and they're like, well, I knew it was going to happen immediately in the first like frame of the movie, or like in the first 10 minutes. So then I was like, oh, what's the point of watching it? And I was like, what's the point of any of us living? We're all going to die.
I think that's a great point. Absolutely.
And it drives me up the wall that I'm like, okay, like maybe there was a bigger story happening that you missed because you were like trying to guess. And I guess if it's like a mystery or something, then sure. But when it's just like not that, I'm just like,
I mean,
allow yourself to be taken to another place. For the love of God, so few pleasures are we allowed.
that's the thing, and I think that I'm actually pretty good at when I'm interested in something and I really am invested in it. I can get a little stupid in the sense that I will allow the storyteller to surprise me in a way that if I wasn't invested and the storyteller was doing a bad job, I would want to leap ahead. But in some of these, in some of my favorite books, there's an inevitability, right? And you have to push it off. The same way with life, you have to push off death or the thought of death in order to enjoy the experience. And I agree with that. I think sometimes if I'm taken out of a movie or a book or a TV show by the lack of, quality in the storytelling or the acting or how it looks or whatever, that's when I start becoming that annoying person where in my head I'm like, well, I knew that was going to happen. In a book that's well written, like I just don't allow that to happen to myself. I will like fear something's going to happen, but I won't be like, well, this isn't worth it because I know it's going to happen.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. To just check out of something immediately if you feel like you are one step ahead of it it's not a good quality to have.
No. And obviously, yeah, if it's lacking in every other aspect, then it's like, sure. I'm not saying you have to love everything you read or everything you watch, but like, yeah, if that's the only way that you judge the quality of something, then I'm like, what are we doing here?
Absolutely.
Then don't bother. I guess I just don't think that it's like having something be a surprise is that shocking. But like you said, I guess looking back, it's like, yeah, somebody like Augustus or Call was going to die.
Yeah.
Augustus burned way too bright. I guess him dying maybe was inevitable. Jake Spoon as well. Like he just was way too reckless for that life.
Yeah.
And the way he went.
I know.
Where he just fell in with some truly disgusting horse thieves.
Yeah.
And then they found him and they're like, we have to kill you. And I was like, but why?
It's principle.
Like,
yeah.
I know. I was like, but it's also like upholding these like laws of the Old West where it's like, Jake Spoon, he's kind of an idiot.
Yeah,
and he wasn't doing this on purpose. But they just have this view of death and this view of the law that it doesn't matter. And even Jake himself was like, yeah, I get it. You have to kill me.
Yeah. I mean,
I'd rather it didn't happen. If it has to happen, I'm happy it's you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that shows just like their sort of code of honor.
Yeah.
And whether it's stupid or not, it's what they cling to.
And some people have said too that it's like the view of obviously of like Native Americans and stuff isn't great. We're never in the first person point of view of a Native American, which I think is not good. But I didn't feel like it was a one-sided view of Native, or I thought it was a very sympathetic view to them.
It wasn't the Cowboys good guys sort of, unequivocally. That's not what this was. I agree. I mean, obviously, and this was, again, 40 years old, Larry McMurtry, not, an indigenous person.
No.
So, but I think he, grew up in Texas, I think, right? He's a Texan. So he might have been around more indigenous people than like you or I. Mm-hmm. But yeah, still, I didn't go to this book looking for like an even-handed usage of indigenous people,
But I also thought when we saw Native Americans, sometimes it was Blue Duck, who was like truly just like a villainous villain.
Yeah.
But also we had white just villains for no reason. But a lot of times when we saw them, they were, and I don't want to use this word as a whole of how I feel, obviously, but like they were like pathetic, where it was like they were either coming across people and they were starving.
Yeah.
They were very young. There's a lot of women and children.
Yeah.
People who were desperate. And I think that's what you saw. And that's what you saw of like the dying of the West. Like they spent so much time being terrified of them. But then when they would come across them, a lot of times they were like frightened and young and starving and women and children. And so it's sort of
and the world had changed for them too.
Oh,
right?
Massively.
Yeah.
And I think it also showed that like this mythos of the whatever that was to them or whatever that was at a certain stage
This
had
like savage enemy,
yeah,
right?
just bloodthirsty,
Yeah.
great at war. It seemed like whenever they did unrelenting, like hunting in the dark, like almost not human.
Yeah.
Was never the reality when they actually interacted with him. And I thought that was also a good like way. Like you said, it's like I'm not going to come to Larry McMurtry like an older white guy in the 80s for an authentic Indigenous experience. I think there are so many really beautiful works written for that you can read and should. But I thought that this still showed that in a way that I thought was really impressive of like the world has changed for all of us. The enemy is no longer the enemy that you think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even Gus, after, he had blood poisoning and he was dying and Call wanted to go after and find them. And he was like, they're kids and they were doing what they thought they needed to do.
Yeah.
And what's the point?
Yeah.
And I thought that was a good and probably more accurate view of Native Americans in the 1870s.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, again, one of the reasons it holds up is because it doesn't have those moments of, or a lot of those moments of like, oh gosh, like.
Right. Like,
ooh. Yeah.
Like the N-word is in there, which you don't love, but it is always also only used by somebody to show that this person's a bad person.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So it's like, you never like seeing it, but I'm like, at least it's not just like our heroes saying it. We have to be like, oh, well, that's an aspect of them. Like they always treated Dietz, who's the only black cowboy, with respect and was caring towards him and everything. And then that's how you knew that somebody was a piece of shit is they deployed that word. Yeah.
I mean, so in our old podcast, no, the next question would have been, would you fuck them? I don't think we're going to do would you fuck them.
No.
Because I just don't think that's fair.
Yeah.
And
but Jake Spoon, yes, probably, sadly.
Of course. But I would say, like, maybe who would you give this book to next? Is there someone in your life you'd give this book to?
Well, I am giving it to somebody next. I texted him today because I'm going to visit one of my best friends in England, and her husband is a Texan.
Okay.
And a writer. He just finished his first novel. And he has a complex relationship with his father, who doesn't, but I read it and like sometimes that happens too as I'm reading a book. I keep thinking of somebody like, oh, this person needs it. And I was like, I feel like this would be a book for him. So I'm going to not give him my copy.
Okay.
But I will get him a copy.
Yeah.
Also, as a thank you for letting me stay at his house for a
there
full
you go.
week.
Here's this brick.
I was like, here, occupy yourself with this.
Yeah. While I'm eating all your food and showering.
Exactly.
And using all the hot water. Not that you don't do that. I'm just saying.
Right. And yeah, as I'm taking up all of your wife's time and you're kind of just at home with the kids.
Yeah.
Anyway, now you have a book.
Here, suck on the futility of masculinity for a while.
This will be good for you.
Yeah.
But I think, but I also think this is a book that I would like if people are interested in getting into reading. I think it's also a very accessible book. Like the language is very deceptively simple.
Yeah.
It's these massive themes, but it's not that you could read them and you need to read them with this like overly literary lens. Like I think you could just, even if you're not a huge reader, I think you could read this book and really get so much out of it. And it is so accessible. Maybe that's part of the reason why it's been popular, has this resurgence now, is that it's not a difficult book to read.
No, you could understand everything that's happening in this without understanding any of the themes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think, like you said, it's deceptively a fast read as well.
Yes.
Surprisingly. I think the other reason why people want to read this book is because it's like you accomplish something. I think there's so much in our lives right now that are fast, easy, quick, sort of you can just take it down in one bite. And when you look at this, as fast as it is as a read, when you get into it, it is an accomplishment. If somebody says, look what I read, they don't know anything about it, they're going to be like, that's a big book. Yeah. That's impressive.
Yeah.
And there is something, and I think I like that about it too, is that people are investing time in these things. East of Eden is also a thick book. I think it's worth it. But to tackle a big book like this is saying, I'm going to invest myself in something. And the fact that a lot of people are doing it, people you wouldn't expect, that's great.
Yeah.
And if they come to it from this introduction, we'll tell you, if you haven't read this book, don't read the introduction.
Don't read the introduction.
Because it'll ruin it for you. But we already ruined it for them if they're listening to the podcast.
If they've gotten this far, they already know all of the big things that happen. But also, still read the book.
It's still, that's the,
like, if you were like,
agree.
I don't think I'm going to read the book, so I'll just listen to this. I don't mind being spoiled. It doesn't matter. Still read it. I don't think that there's a person who could come to Lonesome Dove and not get something out of it.
Yeah, I agree.
There's so much value in it. And I think kind of what you said, like, you come to the book as you are. And so I think like a younger person reading it would get something out of it. If an older person than us read it, they would get something different out of it. And I don't think there's a time where won't have a meaning for you. It's like, that's why it won the Pulitzer. That's why it's had the staying power, is that it's that good of a book.
It would be interesting to talk to somebody who read it when they were younger and then reread it when they were older.
Yeah.
Like more around the age of the characters, you know?
Who would you give it to?
That's a great question. I don't really have anybody in mind at the moment to give this book to, I'll be honest with you. Not because I don't think it's a good quality book. I'm just thinking who in my life could I give it to that would read it?
Well, like the kind of person that you think you would want to read it to, give it to.
Oh, kind of person. That's good. I mean, I think I would definitely want to give it to a guy. I mean, like I was saying earlier, I give it to a guy who is like, I only want to read stuff that makes me better.
Yeah.
It's like, this will make you better.
This will make you much better.
Not in the way you think, or not in a way that you understand right now, but I would do that.
Yeah.
I'd pick a young man off the street. I'd say, come over here, young man. I want to give you something.
Young men need to read it because young men need to read fiction. Everybody should read fiction, as we've established. But I think there's a dearth of young men reading fiction that I think could be solved by young men reading fiction.
I think so. And I think this could be a good introduction to that. Because then they could rip through books that are a little bit denser in theme, but are shorter than this. Because they'll think, well, I read Lonesome Dove, so I can read this book, you know?
Right.
I think you just need an entry point.
Yeah.
And I think this would be a good entry point.
I was reading this book as I went to like visit my grandfather as he was moving into like an assisted living facility. And let me tell you, it's a heavy fucking experience.
Oh, I'm sure.
To be steeped in this and then watching that.
Yeah.
You know, and he's healthy and he's fine and he's happy and he's where he needs to be and everything is good.
Well, he'll never admit he's your grandfather. That's the problem.
Yeah, he wouldn't give me his name.
Yeah.
Which was tough.
Yeah.
But he, you know, it makes you view the people in your life a little different too, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, like the older men in your life, especially, I would think, right?
Definitely. It's hard. Yeah. Gorgeous. Well done. Any other thoughts? Last thoughts?
No. This was fun.
This was fun.
And I'll say this is our first one back, so we're finding our footing again. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Mm-hmm. I prefer if you listen.
I know. We left podcasting and some podcasts were being video, not all of them. And now we're back and like you have to be on video. And I have to say, don't love it.
No, we don't, do we?
No, I don't like it.
I have another podcast where I'm able to forget about the cameras. I think I'm able to forget about the cameras. And you will soon forget about the cameras, too.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do is forget about the cameras.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
But I think you did a really good job.
You did a great job, too. And I think for the moving forward, you know, we talked about what we want the rest of this to be. And I think some episodes will be a book that we read together and it'll be a book discussion. I think we want other episodes to be sort of around reading or recommendations with different themes and things like that. So, yeah, I guess if you like hearing us talk about books, stick around. Because we'll always be talking about books. It'll always be a little different.
It will. And we have the Instagram still, which will be active and was still active, right? At least it wasn't, you know, it was still online. Email.
Oh, yeah. learningthetropes@gmail.com.
Yeah. So email us. What'd you think of this episode? What are some maybe some book questions you'd like us to tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Books possibly that you think we might like.
Yeah.
We won't. It's not one of those things where we're going to like guarantee we're going to read anything, but I love book recommendations. Most of my life is looking for books to read.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of my favorite things to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had really great listeners who had really great recommendations
Yes.
when we had the podcast. And I don't think that's going to change.
No.
And especially, I'm sure a lot of them read books other than romance as well, and they'll have some really good recs.
You know what this book also made me realize is how much I loved Lorraine Heath's Texas trilogy.
Okay, yeah.
We read the first one.
We did, yes. That was very good. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Anyway. So if you want a romance thing for that, read Lorraine Heath's Texas trilogy, which is phenomenal. But yeah. And also I wanted to show, look at my spine versus your spine.
I'm very delicate.
You're so delicate and I am a rough.
You are. I've noticed you gave me some books, thank you, over
But you
the
were disgusted
Christmas.
by them.
No. I just, they were exactly like that.
Yeah.
And mine, I just try to, I mean, obviously this, we got some rough stuff going on here. This is a little bit more rough than I'd like to get with my books, but I think it got caught in the rain. But yeah, so yeah, I don't fold it. Like, what do you like?
I crack it
You crack it.
to read. Yeah.
Wow, you're like Bane. You're like Bane for books. You just
don't
crack
know.
that spine.
I don't know that reference, but okay. Yeah.
Wow, okay.
All right. So we're here. And this is a monthly as well. For now, it's a monthly.
Yeah,
We want to commit to something that we know we can commit to. And I think we can commit to seeing each other once a month.
I think so. I think we can stomach it for once a month. No, it's fun.
No, it's fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, until next month, happy reading.
Happy reading. I think we can still say that.
Yeah, we still want happy reading.
Yeah.